49ers fans. This is 49ers Fangirl Tracy, and I am here with SoCali Steph. Hi, Steph.
Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Well, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well considering the awful loss yesterday, but, that's what it is. We have a lot to learn, so
Definitely.
I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely lots to talk about, and a lot for the team to learn. That was quite a different game from the game we saw Monday night, and actually looked like two entirely different teams.
Oh, completely. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, I understand that it was a short week, and everyone tends to blame it on that. But I think that the Steelers were just very, very prepared for our run game, and that really, is what set them apart from other teams, and especially they were definitely preparing. They're going after Carlos Hyde, who had made such a difference last Sunday.
It made a huge difference, and I think the other big difference was our defense. The defense Monday night looked just so together and on top of things, and they were tough, and they were blitzing, and they were going after Bridgewater, and they could stop Adrian Peterson. And it was like yesterday, it was as if Ben Roethlisberger and company could do no wrong, and our defense could do no right.
Well, and it was more, in my opinion, they were getting beat in the trenches, which is true, but, the secondary just looked awful. I mean, when you have, Darius or Hayward Bay just, get on the scoreboard who hasn't been able to do anything, it's just, every time you looked, it was like they were just getting beat or getting blown out by Antonio Brown, and it was really bad to see our secondary look so, I don't know, just like they were chasing the whole time. And I don't know, it's like one of the worst performances I think I've seen in the 49ers secondary ever.
They looked completely discombobulated, completely confused. They didn't seem to know which way was up. It was a terrible performance by the secondary, which I hate saying because I try to be a positive fan, but it is what it is. It was what it was.
Yeah.
And the pass rush, it was tough. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that, it didn't look good on either side of the ball, particularly. So, the defense, I expected more. I thought it was going to be a little bit tougher. And I'm sure, they're going to look at a lot of bad film, and I'm hoping they can improve from that. But it just seemed like they were dominated in the trenches and just, shredded the 49ers there. It was awful. When I saw that, it was hard to watch. I wanted to turn it off.
I've never seen, and it probably feels like I've never seen, even though I'm sure I have, but it felt like I have never seen a quarterback go back and throw so many long passes for completions to wide open people in my life. It was I was like, how is he so open? And listen, Antonio Brown is Antonio Brown. He is a very talented wide receiver, and Ben Roethlisberger is a very talented quarterback. I don't take anything away from them, but the domination was over the top. After Monday night's performance, I thought the 49ers would have been much more competitive. I had picked them to win, which probably was more with my heart than my head, but I definitely thought they would have been much more competitive.
Yeah, Steelers are a good team. They're definitely contenders. I'm not surprised they won. I just was surprised about the blowout, I guess. So that is what kind of was very disheartening. So, it is what it is. But, there are some good things, too, that, the 49ers did well. I think Chop looked pretty solid, and, he was stepping up in the pocket, and he was using his legs, and, he's not perfect, and everything like that, but he looked good. And the 3 drop passes didn't help. Vernon dropped one, Bruce dropped that one, which does that Calvin Johnson rule, and then Anquan Bolden dropped one. He was totally open on the sideline. So, those are the times when they need to catch those balls too. When he puts them there, that's their job to catch them. So I'm not going to put all of the blame on Cap. Because he looks pretty decent. And then it can also help, that what was frustrating on my end is that offensive line looks awful. It just looks abysmal. I mean, anytime he had, even when Cap had time, or the receivers downfield, he had seconds. He didn't even have time. He basically had seconds after the ball was snapped to get rid of it. And that's any quarterback. I don't care who you are.
100%.
He's not going to do well.
And it was, 100%. And it was both sides of the line. I mean, Eric Pears stood out as a real problem with his 3 penalties. It's a kind of a dubious honor.
Oh, I know.
A dubious way to stand out. But you know what? Both sides of the offensive line looked bad. Joe Staley was getting beat. I mean, it wasn't good. I do definitely agree with you that a bright spot in the game was Cap. And I know a lot of people have said, well, he started to really perform well when it was kind of garbage time and the Steelers didn't care. But you know what? I disagree. I think that that's a time where you could start pushing, where you could start making a lot of mistakes. And I thought he never gave up. I thought he looked really good. He had good numbers. Like you said, the drop passes did not help. But he threw for 2 touchdown passes. He threw for over 300 yards. And you can see the improvements in Cap. I felt that way last Monday night. I felt that way yesterday. You can see the improvements. Like, you really can. And I feel like that is a big bright spot. And the other thing that's very interesting is he's looking so much more of a leader on the field. And I appreciate that. I've noticed he's been pretty quiet on social media. It feels like he's really kind of maturing and growing up as a quarterback and as a leader, which was definitely a bright spot to see.
Yeah, and that's, I guess that's where it was frustrating, because when you saw the Steelers really prepared to shut down Hyde, that's where we needed to counter with our passing game. And that's where, what I wanted to see, which we've all been waiting to see for I don't know how long, but sometimes you cannot run the ball because they've got your number, so then you have to counter it. And they were they're blitzing hard, and so, I don't know, I'm of the opinion, like, really great, spectacular plays happen during blitzes, and we've never been able to have a backup plan when we get blitzed. We need to be more prepared for that. And if we are being blitzed, it felt like Cap had no more than a second upon snapping the ball, because the O-line was just so bad, and it doesn't matter how good Cap is or offensive line play, it's going to get in the way every time. So it's frustrating, and even when there was a time when I saw who I love, Joe Staley, he just seemed confused. He didn't know what was going on, and Eric Pears, very bad, and you mentioned the penalties. I don't know. It just seems like that's really been, our Achilles heel. And when we go into face Arizona, they blitz all the time. So if they don't figure this out quickly, it's going to be a real big problem. We won't be able to get anything done.
And I think in my opinion, at least the 2 biggest question marks coming into the season were the offensive line and the secondary. And that was exposed yesterday. But I am very concerned about the offensive line, because I agree with you. It does not matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're Tom Brady, if you're Joe Montana, if you're Steve Young, if you're Peyton Manning. If your offensive line can't give you some sort of pass protection, there's nothing you can do.
Right, and even our run protection wasn't really that great either.
No, it was not.
It was just it just wasn't good. We've always been really good run blockers, and the 49ers have been strong in that area, and they just, they block well, and even our players are taught to block well. I mean, Vernon Davis is one of the best run blockers I've ever seen, especially for a tight end.
Absolutely.
And we just it wasn't clicking, it wasn't happening, and we couldn't get anything going on that. Then, of course, you look for the passing game. That's just awful. So at that point, what do you do? I mean, what did you do? And it seemed like Cap didn't give up, which I loved. And I loved that when you saw that was a great pass to Torrey Smith, and it was a great catch on both sides. Like, that needs to happen,
100%.
There needs to be those kinds of plans, and I'm glad they didn't give up. And I know people say garbage time, like you said, but they weren't playing their garbage players, so
no, they weren't.
They were going against their number number one defense, so they still made those plays. So it didn't count or whatever towards the, end all be all, but counted to me, because if you can do that against those really good defenders, then you can do it more often. And I think that the team will need some confidence. The offensive game will need more confidence, like we can do this. But they do need to figure it out. If the defensive line can't do something, then they need to prepare for the blitzes, and they need to have like a backup plan in case something goes awry.
And they need to figure it out quick. Because they're going to Arizona, and then they have Green Bay coming to town, and then they're going to go to New York, and then they have Baltimore, and then they have Seattle. It's not like the next few weeks are super easy. So they are going to have to figure it out super duper quick. I mean, my concern on the offensive line, and maybe this is a bad attitude, but this is my concern on the offensive line, is I just don't know that the talent is there to figure it out. But I could be wrong about that, at least on the right side of the line. And I could be wrong about that. And I do think they looked really good Monday night. And I might just be in a little bit of a down moment. But that is a little bit of a concern. They might be able to figure out as best they can, but is as best they can good enough? And I guess that's the question that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe Staley and Alex Boone should be able to rebound better. They just should. But the right side of the line is just not pretty. And
no, it's not.
I didn't really understand why the 49ers didn't pick up. There was a lot of good young talent, who played offensive line, in the draft, and it boggled my mind that we didn't pick up one. Maybe they think that they can get, make these guys do what, how they did with Alex Boone. He was... and how they turned him around. Maybe that's their philosophy. Like, they don't want to spend money in that area, and they don't want to rebuild in that area. But at some point, it's got to be important to them, because you have to protect your quarterback. And I think that they only feel that Joe Staley is the money position. But really, it's everything if you really want to get the offensive line going. So, I don't know. It's a little bizarre. I'm concerned still. I mean, they do have Brandon Thomas, I think, and I'm thinking maybe he should get, or Trenton Brown, maybe they should get some shots. I don't know. I mean, that's one you kind of wonder. But they look very, they didn't look that great in the preseason, Trenton Brown and Ian Silverman either. But,
no, they did not.
You just kind of wonder. I mean, when people say they're deep, I mean, they are, but I've not really seen it much better.
And maybe they don't want. Maybe they feel like it's going to be much different when Kilgore gets back, and maybe the Kilgore setback is why they didn't. Maybe they didn't expect him to have had another setback, and so they didn't end up getting anybody else. But then I feel like they knew he had a setback when Evan Mathis was still available. So that was confusing to me as well. So
they made their decisions, and that's what the decisions they made. And,
exactly.
It was just, since Trent came out with this whole thing, we're going to run the ball. I felt like, okay, we're going to run the ball, but we better, have an O-line that can back that up. It's not just about a power run game. Yeah, we've done that very well, and our run blocking was second to none, I'd say 3 years ago. But now, we've lost so much, and, not even talking about Corbett. I think Hyde is a wonderful talent. I said it even, I didn't understand why we didn't use him more last year. That was frustrating for me just last year, because we had more last year as far as, we weren't built to pass block. We weren't engineered to do that. Those players were specifically, engineered and handpicked to run block. And then they had this whole passing game. And then we didn't have people running the ball. And then it was just very odd. And then now this year we have them running the ball, but nobody knows how to run block.
Which is going to make it a lot harder to run the ball. It's like
clearly.
It's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a frustrating game.
No, it did not look pretty, and I actually think Sunday in Arizona will be a very big test as to the ability of this team and this coaching staff to retool, to work on some things, and to be able to move forward. I do appreciate that Tom Sula is he's pretty even-keeled. He wasn't overly excited Monday night. He wasn't overly upset yesterday. He's right. We're going to lose games. We're going to win games. And you just got to, move on to the next game. But hopefully that is really how he feels, and that trickles down to the coaching staff and the team, because, yesterday was I would imagine, a pretty demoralizing loss, especially coming off such an exciting Monday night. So, a couple things that I've noticed that I think are probably worth mentioning that do improve upon last year is I feel like last year there was a lot of playing down to the level of the competition. So there were a lot of games where we lost the game because we were the better team, but we played like we weren't, or we played to level the competition. I thought Monday night we did not do that, obviously. Which was great. And yesterday, obviously, we had a competition that was much superior, but we didn't fold. So at least that's good. I'm looking for bright spots wherever I can find them.
I know. No, that's noble.
Thank you. It's noble. I like that.
I think we can win against Arizona. I think it's going to be a tough game. I know that they're going to come hard with the blitz because that is what they do. So I feel like if they can't figure that out, we probably will lose. I think it comes down to, that offensive line, really stepping up and doing their job. Or if they can't do it, if they can't get through this, and they need to develop, the defensive scheme has to get different. It has to be different so that it can, adjust to the heavy blitzing and because if we're not going to win in the trenches, then we're going to have to go aerial. And I know that's not really their focus or whatever, but the deal about football is that you have to be versatile and you have to surprise what you're going to do. And I think Cap has every ability to throw. I think he can be accurate. I think once we get, some synergy with the whole, passing game, I think we could be a monster if we can do it. It's just getting that, that for it to finally jive, not just for one player out of, all of them, so they can actually get it going for the whole entire, it's always like one player he'll go to, and that's frustrating to me. So I want to see him hit multiple runners.
Yes, I would agree. And then I know we've talked about it, but it's worth repeating. They have to catch the ball. I mean, it's really inexcusable, and I'm saying this about players that I love, but it's like inexcusable that people such as Anquan Bolden and Vernon Davis and Bruce Miller are dropping passes that are perfectly thrown when they're open. Yeah. And it's just, those are inexcusable things. And that did happen a lot yesterday, and it happened last year. And, a lot, I always said to people in terms of Cap last year, I was like, in a little bit of fairness, he had the two league leaders in drop passes were two of his receivers. And that is a hard thing to overcome. So that kind of stuff to me is inexcusable. And that's kind of sloppiness that I think needs to be really focused on. And I'm not one of the coaches, but if I were, I would say you are going to stand here. Yes, you know what? We are honorary coaches. We care that much. And I would have them out there and saying, you know what? Let's pretend you're a rookie. And I'm just going to keep throwing and throwing and throwing. And you're going to keep catching. I mean, it was like little stuff, not really holding onto the ball, not, looking forward instead of making sure you had the ball, all that kind of little stuff that makes you drop three perfectly well-thrown passes. I don't think they weren't going to win yesterday no matter what, but they should have been I didn't feel that way the other day, but as soon as the game started, I could tell they weren't going to win, but they should have been, as you said earlier, much more competitive in the game. And that's part of it.
If your game is running, okay, this is what I didn't get. Because, I don't know if you watch college, but I do. Yes. But Ezekiel Elliott, he backed up Carlos Hyde. And when you see him run, and he has such great success, they just keep running him down everyone's throat. don't we do that? Like, if the run game is our thing, and we tire on that out, and we keep going, and we keep pushing, and we keep going, and then we get it. That's the run game. But it was like there was these shifts, and they didn't know what they were doing, and then they wouldn't keep it going. And that was our game with Gore. Okay, we'll give it to Gore, 85,000 times until, he gets through. And that we tire that trench down. And that was our game. And if that's our game, let's stick to it. But I just didn't see how they could bounce around. It's either you go aerial or you stick to that game, and neither one was right. And they just needed to do something. And I don't know, I just don't know if they believe in their own system. The coaching, the calls that were made just seemed really off and kilter to why they were doing certain things at the wrong time. I was fine. Of course, we lost high, which was another thing.
Yes.
But which didn't give us a choice at that point. But
But how big a sigh of relief did you breathe when they said that he was cleared for concussion?
Yeah, I mean,
not that I wanted him to play yesterday, but I'm glad they kept him out. But me too. I was just concerned about future games. I was like, oh gosh, no concussion. I thought it was absolutely the right call to keep him out. There was no point at that game to bring him back in, but I did breathe a huge sigh of relief when they said he'd been cleared for a concussion, because that means he will be available on Sunday.
Hopefully, yeah. I don't know. I tend to be really nervous about what doctors say about players. I think they tell us the bare minimum, and especially the 49ers. I mean, but I do obviously hope he's okay, and I want him to be ready to play, but I want him to be healthy too. So whatever they need to do to make it work and make him healthy, to me, that's my priority,
Yeah, I would.
Even if he stays out another game.
Oh, yes. No, absolutely. It would not be worth it at all for the future for him to play on Sunday. So I have a question for you that I know you will probably feel strongly about. Where was Jaquaski Tart yesterday?
I know. I love him, too.
I know you do. I thought of you. I was like, Steph can't be happy.
I don't know. I should tweet him and say what happened. But, they looked, you could see they weren't on point. I mean, even to say, he had some issues. So it was the entire secondary was I don't know, off. And it was you could tell. So it was just bad. And, it's hard to say. What do you think? And where do you think? He made such critical plays the week before.
Well, that's why I was very confused by that. I thought he made such critical plays the week before. He just showed so much promise. And then yesterday, I'm thinking, where is he? Especially once they were so off, I was like, why is he not now? Because for whatever reason, they decided not to make him a huge part of the plan at the start of the game. But then you saw how off the secondary was, and I wonder why not give it a try at this point? Why not give it a try? And he looked so good Monday night and did make so many good plays, and he had a sack. I mean, I was very confused by that. I didn't understand. And I do try to remember that even though we are honorary coaches, we are not there every day, and we're not at practice and not in the locker room and not seeing what's going on. And so I'm assuming there's a reason, but it just I was just really confused. Why is he not part of the plan? And if he wasn't part of the plan at the beginning for whatever reason, why not throw him in now? Because they look completely confused. I mean, you had Michael Wilhoit on single coverage on Marcus Wheaton, who caught a 48-yard pass, and you could see Wilhoit looked ticked. He's looking around going, who was supposed to be with me down here? I was just confused. But again, I know that I'm not there every day, so I'm assuming there's a reason, but I'd love to know what the reason was, because I just was like, where's Jaquaski? I mean, this is a kid that looked really good the other day, who looked really good in preseason, and now you're playing the Steelers. Why is he not part of this? So that was
right. I mean, he killed some plays, like so many plays and hard plays. He killed it last week. So that's disappointing too. But maybe they just thought that the Steelers, in their run game is where they were going to do. They didn't know that they were going to go.
They didn't know they were lights out.
I have no idea really why they would do that, but that's game planning, and they have a game plan, and he wasn't part of it. So they probably just completely misjudged the Steelers. And to me, that's the coaching. That has nothing to do with the players coaching. And if the secondary was all discombobulated yesterday, that's coaching. It's because they were told this is where you should be, this is where you should go. Or these guys, are relying too much, which was my fear, is, this mentality that we're going to tell you what to run, and you stop, running on your instinct, because you have to have the instinct to know where to go. You have to be able to read the play. But I'm scared about the defense being scripted so that they go exactly where they go, but then, because Roethlisberger can read you, so if he reads the defense, it became too predictable for him, so he knew exactly what to do. So maybe they just showed so much, predictability that's why they got over, because it was all scripted instead of letting these guys play, with their instincts and letting them lead. Who knows?
And I think you really hit it there, and I think that's an excellent point. They didn't look like they were playing with instinct. That's really, I think good job, Steph. I just think you just summed it right up. They really didn't. It was very good job. I think I'm going to send you up to Santa Clara for the week. I think they.
I know. Let me go talk to Mangini.
I think you might need to. I think you guys might need to sit down and have a little chat. But they didn't look like they were playing on instinct. It's like, oh no, this is what we're supposed to do. Part of that is that they do have a lot of young guys, and maybe they feel like they have to script everything so they know where to be.
They got to hold us down.
But they still have.
But they did that with Cat.
They did.
Cats, but and they still do it with Cats. They haven't been able to let go of that control and just let these guys play football. So, and I think coaching is huge. I think it's huge, more than probably anybody. But I do think that they can also overcoach, and I do think that they can get it. They have to give the players a chance to play and make plays. And if it's too scripted, I think that can be a problem. And I think that was definitely a problem in the secondary yesterday.
I absolutely agree. And Bowman said yesterday we're a young team, and he's excited to see how everyone bounces back from this. And it's one loss. I just think they looked so bad. It's not even so much they lost; they look so bad. But I think there was a lot to learn from. So we'll hope that they do, because, like I said earlier, they do not have an easy road ahead of them.
No. So we have Arizona next week. I think it's winnable. I do. It's winnable. I think it'll be a tough game. And then, let's see.
Then after Arizona, they have Green Bay at home.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be that could be rough. And then I was thinking last night how I was cheering for Green Bay like the biggest Green Bay fan ever, and in 2 weeks I'm going to be so anti-Green Bay. But then after they have Green Bay at home, then after that they have the Giants on the road. Then they have, it's the traveling on that one. I think the Giants they can beat. They can beat a lot of teams if they're playing well. But then after the Giants on the road, they have Baltimore at home on a Sunday, and then that Thursday they have the Seahawks at home.
Right.
So,
which I think that they can. After seeing the Seahawks, I don't think that they're that. I know there's a big rivalry, but I don't think they look very good either. So I'm actually glad we're facing them 2 times this season, because they look awful. But, they're probably going to bring some, luck to the way that they figure out these crazy things. And, I'm not saying we shouldn't take them seriously, but I really think that we can beat them, and I think we can beat them twice.
I think that's I would say over the next few weeks, if I would say there's a lot of games we can win if we play, I guess for lack of a better term, our brand of football. And we can play with our brand of football if we put a little more trust in the players and let them. I mean, obviously there has to be a scripted game plan, but I think you really hit it there with that instinct thing, is letting these guys play on instinct. And if we can play our game, this is a good team. There's a lot of talent on this team. It's just getting this talent together. They're young. They're very young, and there's something to be said for freshness and youth. And if they can get it together, I think this is a very good football team. Do you
still stick by your 8-8?
I actually said I changed it a couple weeks ago to 9-7, and I'm getting crazy with 9-7. Now I'm just being nuts. But I know it is woo. But you know what? I do think I'm gonna stick by it. We've only played 2 games. 2 years ago we started the season 1-2 and went to the NFC Championship game, and right now we're 1-1. And I do think Sunday is a winnable game. I'm going to stick with it for now. Because I believe in the talent of the team. I think what the it factor is them coming together as a team and harnessing that talent in a way that works. And that the coaching staff kind of being able to adjust week to week. But I believe in this coaching staff. I really like Tom Sula. I think the players like him, and he's the players' coach, and they want to play for him. And I think he does know what he's doing. I think he's a good football mind. I think that he's got good people around him. So it still remains to be seen.
Mancini was really good on defense. Like, I never understood why he came to the 49ers and became a tight ends coach. Never got it. But I do respect the guy on defense. So I'm just hoping that he really looks at what has happened in the last secondary, and what happened in the trenches, and kind of revive that a little bit, because we don't have a bad defense, even with all of our losses. We have a good defense, and when other teams can pull things off, we can too. But it's all about strategy, and it's all about coaching and making sure that we get it done at the end of the day. So I think he has some work to do, but I have confidence in him, definitely.
I do too. I do, and I have confidence in Geep. I think as of now, at least, I do have confidence. I mean, they had one really spectacular game and one really, really bad game. So I do think it's still a little bit remains to be seen. There's a lot of time left in this season. And we'll see how it goes. But I'm sticking. How are you still feeling about 8-8?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. I think we're definitely. I will still stand by 8-8. It's probably not the teams I had originally thought, because I did think we could beat the Steelers. But I get why we didn't, and they are a good team. They have my respect. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that we can't win games I wasn't sure about. Like, I was very terrified of Seattle. Now I'm not so terrified after I've seen them play. So it might not be the way I thought, but I definitely think 8-8 is doable. And if they make the playoffs by any way, I think that they're driven. I think the kids want it. I think Cap wants it more than anything. Mm-hmm. So I think they're trying new things, and that's okay. And they, will have to get it together. And there's them losing. It could be a very big firing point for them. It was definitely in past season. So nobody likes to lose, especially guys that are that competitive. So hopefully, they figure it out.
I said this last year. I think it was after the Chicago game. I'm going to say this again, and this is I don't believe they're going to go to the Super Bowl. This is not me saying that, because I have hope, but I'm not completely delusional. But in 1995, when they won the Super Bowl in 95, they lost to the Eagles early in the season 40-8, and they looked terrible. And I always think of that game, and I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl. Like I said, I'm not delusional. But I think you can have an early, terrible loss that you could actually really learn a lot from and grow from that could change your season. So I'm going to hope that that's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm going with. I always, whenever I get down on a game, I'm like, but in the 95 season, they lost 40.
Yeah, right.
And I remember Seaford pulled Young, and it was a mess of a game. So I look at that, and I think this could be a huge learning experience, and it'll be interesting to see how this young team can learn and bounce back, and what goes on Sunday. Will they look competitive Sunday? And time will tell on that. We'll be able to talk about that next Monday.
Yeah, definitely. So sorry I missed last week too. I wanted to be there. I just I missed that. But anyway, we'll do it next week, and we'll talk more. 49ers. Hopefully we'll have something good to talk about.
Fantastic. All right. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We will talk to you next week.